What the hell did we just watch? Let's find out. Welcome everybody to FYC Film Review. I'm your host Gagne. With me as always, my partner in crime, Ronaldo. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm okay. How's it going? I don't know what I am. I don't really I don't know, man. This movie. Oh my gosh. I'm fine. How's it going?
Okay, I'm fine too. You look like you're stuck in a garage with some men in suits who are fighting with swords.
Swords? Yeah, they're
Swords.
fighting swords and fighting in a garage and backflips and swords and lightning strikes and all that good stuff. So yeah, Highlander.
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 Indeed. This is another one of those movies that gets quoted often. Never watched. I didn't watch this growing up.
Does it get quoted?
I feel like, well, yes. So there can be only one. I mean, that happens like that. People use that all the time. People,
Okay.
jokingly, I think, do the McLeod, McLeod, like, quite often. There's there. This is another one of those cult classic
Yeah.
followings
Yeah.
where, because you've got this Queen soundtrack and I feel like it is, and I didn't know about it. I mean, I knew about it, but I never watched it.
Yeah.
It spawned a couple of really bad sequels.
Yeah.
But all in all,
So this is the first movie that we both have not seen that we're reviewing, correct? This is the
yes,
first
yeah,
movie that you and I have not seen. So we went back into the 80s, 1986, and we decided, let's go with the cult following movie. And we decided Highlander, 1986. Almost 2 hours, directed by Russell Mulcahy. I don't know who he is. No
yeah.
idea who he is. But again, this movie has a really big cult following, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. So
Ah.
as we get into it, hopefully people will let us know why it's good, and we can tell them why it's not good for us. So you mentioned Queen. I don't know how they got Queen to sign on to do this movie because it's just not very good. And even though there's you got the Queen songs and you got Who Wants to Live Forever in it, which is funny. I don't get it. I don't understand how they got Queen. Money, I'm supposed, yeah,
It's
money.
got to be. This we're on a track right now of like these bloated budget fantasy films, which,
Yeah,
although this one feels like it's trying to be a fantasy and a sci-fi, I don't know, but they had these giant budgets. You get these big name actors, and this movie just does not. It doesn't come together. Like
yeah.
we're on a really weird track right now with the mid '80s and these films, because I don't know how they got Queen either. Like, that's one of the saving graces, I guess, is that you get some cool Queen rock songs.
Yeah. Right off the bat, we get this huge wrestling scene, which is crazy because it makes you think like it's a wrestling movie. I mean, it's just wrestling. And you got Connor McLeod sitting in on the seats watching this sporting event, and you're just kind of like, okay, what is going on? Like, what the hell is going on? Is it a wrestling movie? I mean, I've never seen it before. And then you got this epic sword fight in the garage, like in my background, with this older guy, and you don't know who he is. And the weird part about this scene is this guy starts doing backflips, and backflips and backflips
In a suit.
In a suit. It just does not make any sense to me. So that was like the first scene I wanted to call out. It is so bad. And I'm like, why is he doing backflips? There's no reason for him to be doing backflips. Anyways.
There's also no real explanation of what's going on. First off, like, how do you sit at a sporting event and with a sword like tucked in your trench coat? Like, I can barely fit in there with my popcorn and snacks. Like, how did he have a sword in his trench coat in a wrestling thing? Why is he in a wrestling thing? Like, does he just like wrestling? Why is he in this foggy underground parking lot? And why is there a guy in a suit with a sword trying to attack him? You have no idea what's going on. This is like the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Right. Yeah.
What's happening?
Exactly. I mean, and I'm assuming that's what the director wanted. He wants to throw these things at you, and you don't have any idea what it's about. Yeah. And I guess it's there's action in it, but it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, he's in a wrestling event with this long overcoat because he's got a sword. How the hell does he get his sword in? You know,
There were no metal detectors back then.
they weren't.
No, I'm just being facetious. I Okay, so from a concept perspective, I like this concept of this movie. Like, I like the idea of these immortal warriors. This is like Mortal Kombat, basically. This is why they probably cast Christopher Lambert as Lord Raiden later. Like, you've got these immortal warriors who, you know, battle each other, and they only come across each other every so many 100 years. I don't know, but they know that they're battling to be the last Highlander. I like the concept. The delivery of the movie is just so confusing. It's not put together well. Like, we start flashing back to where McLeod came from, and so the way to like start explaining the story is like you just get it in such these little bits and pieces that you're like, come on, like, just tell me that story and then give me where we're at now. It was too much back and forth.
Yeah, and just to that point, they tend to go back mostly to his Scotland days, because I guess that's when he was born, that's where he was from. But they focus so much on that part that he's been alive for like 4 centuries. And yeah, they show some of the stuff he's been through, but he's been through so much. But they mostly focus on his Scottish background and all that, and that's what we get. And it reminds you of Braveheart a lot, a really watered down version of Braveheart. So that's what we get. And I agree that the concept is okay, but I just feel like the execution was really bad. You have a good story, but if there's so much going on, he's been alive for 4 centuries. I want to see everything he's been through. I want to see where he's been, what he's done, and all that.
Through the time, you have his battles with these other Highlanders,
right?
And it brings you to the your conclusion, where shout out to Clancy Brown. Okay, like, as the bad guy of this movie, he, besides Christopher Lambert's caveman face, Clancy Brown carries this movie because he's just crazy and odd, and I love him. And I'm gonna throw out a fun fact. This guy's Mr. Krabs. He is Mr. Krabs.
That's like the greatest fun fact we'll ever have on the show.
Probably, like, and I love this guy, and he's such a great character actor, and he's such a good voice actor, and he plays crazy so well in this movie. So I had to shout this out.
And that's the thing. This movie has a good cast. It's got Sean Connery, it's got Clancy Brown, it's got Christopher Lambert. And so it's not like it's an awful cast. No. It's just so messy that it makes everybody look really awful.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, again, inexperience from this director. He just didn't know how to give these guys, convey like what you're trying to get across. Like, Christopher Lambert looks confused this entire movie. Like, he only has one face, and he's just like deeply staring through everything he's looking at in this entire movie.
Yeah, it's
why is his accent slipping in and out? Like, is he Scottish? Is he like,
I agree. So here's a fun fact. Christopher Lambert, when he made this movie, he didn't speak fluent English. He had started a movie previously called something, I think, Legend of Tarzan, and he was able to carry that movie because his dialogue was very minimal. So when they was brought on to do this movie, they realized, oh man, he doesn't speak fluent English, but he got through it. So I don't know if that's part of his accent, part of his Scottish accent. I don't know what it is, but I think he's like a French actor.
Oh, okay. So I was going to ask what nationality is then, because I didn't know that he didn't speak fluent English, and so that maybe explains some of the slippage of, like, it sounds all over the place, and I'm like, is it because he's gone through time and lived in so many different regions? Like,
that's what I took it as.
I do think it's pretty ironic that the Scottish actor you do have in Sean Connery plays an Egyptian by way of Spain. You're like, what?
It's so
with his normal accent.
Yeah. So I wrote down his name. So his name is Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez. That's what his name is, who's playing somebody from Spain, but is really from Egypt. And I don't understand it. So what I did is I went online. So I guess they explain it in Highlander 2, if you guys really want to go into Highlander 2, that I guess he was originally from Egypt. And as the centuries went by, he took on this persona of Juan Sanchez Villalobos in this. So Ramirez, who guess he never changes his accent in movies. He's always got this Scottish accent. So
Yeah.
it was weird to me. And when he's trying to train him on the beach, it gave me like this Rocky / Karate Kid vibe where they were running on the beach. He's on the canoe and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna fall. I don't know how to swim." He goes, "You're immortal," and all that stuff. And the weird part was I was trying to find some kind of background as to why this happened to him. And you get one little dialogue where Juan Sanchez tells him that it goes, "Why is the sky blue? Why does this happen?" And that was it.
That's it.
That's it. And,
Yeah.
and that was kind of like it. It's like, what? That's all? That's what you're gonna give me? And maybe I miss it later in the movie, but that's all I heard. That's
Nail on the head, my friend. You couldn't have said it better myself. Honestly, yeah. That explanation is like the worst explanation for anything. Why does the sun come up? Like, okay, I guess that works. So I should write a movie like that because
it's weird. And the only way to kill these immortals is to behead them. That's it. That's you have,
which is hilarious because you're not immortal if you can chop your head off and you die. So
yeah, it's just weird. And
I can't die except for your head. If your head comes off, it's over.
It's over. And I guess, and that's why we get all these beheadings in this movie. When I saw the guy's head chopped off in the garage, I was like, "Oh, what is this? What am I in for?" But it has meaning to it. It's not just gory to be gory. There's meaning behind all the beheadings. So
there is there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie. And again, like they start flashing forward to the like future, or the present, I guess, it's supposed to be in the 80s, and there's just so much confusing things happen. That the scene where, what was Clancy Brown's character's name? Kurgan. Thank you. He's like battling, one of the Highlanders in the alleyway, and all of a sudden this dude who apparently is following the Highlanders pops out of his car with like guns blazing, trying to like take him out. And you're like, who is this guy? And why is he, and what is he, a vigilante? And he serves the only purpose of like being able to tell the story to the cops later on, like, but it's random. It's just all this stuff out of left field.
I agree. And I'm almost thinking that I wonder if this movie was much longer and there's like some kind of director's cut out there that explains all these gaps in the movie, because I remember that specific scene, and like you quickly get a cut to Kurgan and his one friend, and they're fighting in the alley, but there was no setup. There was no setup at all. And then you got this guy rolling in his car with his, shotgun or machine gun.
Yeah.
And it was just weird. It was so random. So
and that guy only shows up, the Highlander Kurgan's fighting, like he shows up and talks to McLeod for a second, and they're friendly, even though I thought they're all supposed to battle each other. And that's the thing I don't also get. Like, there's only supposed to be one, and they're supposed to battle each other out. Like, why are they friendly sometimes? Like, are there good ones and bad ones?
There's got to be good ones and bad
ones. Why
is
he training him? There's so much left unchecked and so much confusion going on. The fact that you pointed out, like, that they focus on his time in Scotland. They don't really focus on any other time frames other than 2, and they bring one in where he meets, I guess, his assistant as a child, and you don't really catch it if you're not paying attention, but his assistant in the current day he finds as a child during World War II and saves
Rachel. Yes, Rachel.
And like, that's actually kind of a cool setup story. Like, she follows him along, she knows about him and what's going on, but like, you don't really do anything with it other than one scene where he's just saves her, and then you're supposed to put it together. Oh, that's Rachel.
That's Rachel. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool scene too. So yes, since we're getting there, let's do a worst line time. Ready?
Let's.
All right, worst line time. Here we go. I'm gonna let you go first on Highlander.
Oh, okay. So you mentioned the boat scene, and that's where they really started to jump out at me. But he's balancing on the boat, and he said, "I told you I don't like water. I'm a man, not a fish."
I don't like boats. I don't like water. I'm a man, not a fish.
It's like,
in his
Okay.
Irish accent.
In his one of his many accents, his French, Scottish, Asian accent. I
And then
think.
he drops him, right? He drops him in the.
Yes, he does. He does drop him in the water. But
So dumb. Okay.
I think a lot
All
of
right.
it's just about Christopher Lambert's delivery, and I did not realize this was like his first big English speaking role. So
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
I mean, it
Christopher
doesn't make
Lambert.
the role any less, or the word any the line any less bad. I should say.
Yeah. Connor McLeod, Christopher Lambert also had my bad
Shocking.
line in this movie. So this took place in the flashback scene where he's living this life as a in the time where the Nazis are around, and he saves Rachel, the little girl. And so he picks up Rachel, the little girl, and a Nazi shoots him in the back, but he falls down with the little girl. And the little girl goes, "Hey, you didn't die." And he goes, "It's kind of magic, right?" And he gets up, turns around and looks at the Nazi and says this. He does his Christopher Lambert laugh. He goes, and then he goes, "Whatever you say, Jack, you're the master ace." And then he shoots him.
Whatever you say, Jack, you're the master ace.
Master race.
Master race?
Yes, it was master race because of the Germans.
Okay,
but
whatever.
Still a bad line.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, again, delivery wise, like there's just so many of them like that where you don't, the training montage, like it's another one where he just yells out a bad line. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And again, I think had they told it in a more linear fashion, I think I might have enjoyed it a little bit more. Like the bouncing back and forth all the time. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. It kept taking me out of it. Like I actually kind of like some of the current day 80s, part of it. But
okay,
the flashing back and forth, it's too much.
all right. Another one scene that I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Was when Heather, his wife, back in his Highlander days, or whatever you call it. I think Juan Sanchez Villalobos tells him that he's got to leave her, right? Because you're a Highlander, you're immortal, and you're just gonna hurt her. Yeah. And you get this shot where he's laughing, and she's coming over the hill, and you realize that she's older now. She's an old lady, and he actually stuck with her the whole time. He never left her. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's one of those.
Yeah, pretty cool until they reveal that Kurgan
raped her.
Like it was like
that's bad. Yeah.
I don't know why it was really necessary. Like
it wasn't.
It didn't add anything. Like he's still the bad guy. He's still it just that kind of was like, oh, okay. And I noted that because like there's definitely some like dated stuff in here that they wouldn't do. When McLeod is getting interrogated in the beginning of the movie, and that beat cop is in the interrogation room for some reason, he drops the F word at him and is just like, "I know why you were down in the garage. You were looking for a blowjob." And you're like, what? Oh my God.
It's not needed, man.
No, not at all. And like,
no,
tough guy cop, like, what? You're a beat cop. Get out of here. This is the detective's job.
Yeah, it's just gotta get that out there. Gotta make this movie extreme, and then you got your gratuitous sex scene in the movie, which is just kind of like, which is weird how it happens, because he tells her that, hey, he goes, "I'm immortal." His love interest, Brenda, I think Brenda's her name, and he goes, "I'm immortal." And they're in her apartment, and she has a knife, and he takes a knife in her hand and he stabs himself with it. And then she realizes, oh my gosh, she's immortal. And they look at each other, and they just have this love scene, which is just like
typical 80s love scene too. It's like all shadows and like blue and dark light, and you're like, I think I see stuff, but I don't see stuff. But I do see stuff. Is this how people make love?
I don't know if I want to see this, man. It just, there's so many things that were just not needed. But
I'd like to walk you home, Brenda.
Yeah.
Like his line in the bar to the first time he meets her, like no explanation of like,
creepy.
You're in danger. I need to, it's like, I would like to walk you home, Brenda.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
This movie's, sorry, go ahead.
I don't have anything else. I don't.
Yeah, it's a jumbled mess even at the end, when they're battling it out on top of like the roof where she's strapped to the marquee, and the
The neon
marquee's falling
sign.
apart, and then they fight inside an
It's like a
abandoned
warehouse. Yeah.
Like, again, it's just so music video, like all these things, like it just, the shadows and the way it's shot, and like it's very stylized action, and
Yeah.
I can get behind it sometimes, but then it's just no explanation to anything. Like, why all of a sudden when he kills Kurgan, there's like lightning hitting him? Like, is that him gaining
All the
power?
demons come out or something like
Right.
that. Yeah.
It becomes weird, and you're like, what happened? What?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's just so much stuff crammed into like 2 hours of like, what?
Yeah.
So,
It's funny because in that scene at the end where he beheads Kurgan or whatever his name, the bad guy, and all the demons come out, and I guess they're demons. I don't know. Highlander's actually floating in the air, and it's so funny. I don't know if you noticed, but yeah, you saw the wires. I could clearly see all the wires that were like strapped to his back and stuff. I was like, okay,
in multiple
whatever.
shots too. It wasn't like one of those rare things where you're like, oh, I think I saw a wire. No, this was like,
no, that's a full wire.
Yeah.
About 2 wires there, and he's like flipping like a trapeze artist. It's just like
and yelling out, it's like as lightning striking him. It's so
yeah.
weird.
I don't. Highlander, man. I wish I had some more good or any good things to say about this, but I really don't.
Yeah. Let's not belittle it any longer. Let's just get ourselves to a rating, because this is a fun one for sure, and I don't mean that in a good way. I'm gonna go first this time.
All right, what are we rating it? Swords.
Yeah, I mean,
Swords.
that's probably the most prominent thing other than a kilt in this movie. So
a sword and a kilt. Okay. All right. 5. By rating of 1 to 5. 1 sword being really, really bad, and 5 swords being this amazing 1986 movie.
Yeah. We might ban ourselves from ever doing 80s movies again.
Okay.
Well, since this movie is so known for the line of "there can be only one," there will be only one sword from me on this movie.
Okay.
It's bad. It's long. It's confusing. It doesn't explain anything. It's got equally bad performances from people who generally know how to act. I don't understand the cult following on this one either. I'm out.
Okay.
One sword.
One sword. I don't get it either. I really don't. And I can't. I mean, I never saw this as a kid. Seeing it now, I don't get it. The concept is kind of cool, I guess, but just it was really bad. It's one of those movies that I don't ever want to watch again. And I'm going to fully agree with you on this one. It gets one sword for me for Highlander 1986. I'm sure it means a lot to some people, but this movie is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous in my eyes, and I cannot recommend it by any means. I'm so sorry. So if I'm wrong, please let us know. Please let me know and tell us why Highlander is good, because I don't think we found any good things in this. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Just tell everybody to go queue up your Spotify, listen to the Queen soundtrack, and just skip the rest of it, because that's about the only redeeming quality from this one. I apologize again in advance, folks. We just can't stay away from the 80s.
We love the 80s.
We do love the 80s. But these are fun-ish to dive into. We might need to pick one that's a little higher quality for the next one that we haven't either of us haven't seen, so that we can dive in a little deeper on something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But thanks for joining us. This has been FYC Film Review. I'm your host, Gagne. With me, as always, my partner, Ryan Naldog.
See you guys later. Again, I am sorry about this movie. My partner isn't, but I am. So
yeah, we apologize for this. We didn't make it, but we're gonna apologize for it.
Yeah. So
we'll catch you guys next time.
See you guys later.
Thanks.